All right, guys, we got the mailbag dropping today. I think we got 5 or 6 questions people submitted that are kind of reaching all over Bulls space that we'll answer here. But before I get into that, let's talk about the trade that happened yesterday. Dennis Schroeder going to the Warriors. This trade affects the Bulls because I think it takes the Bulls out of the Nikola Vucevic sweepstakes. I don't think Vuce is getting traded. I don't think the Bulls are going to do any trades. Maybe a smaller trade like a Torrey Craig trade. If they get real feisty, maybe an Ayo Dosunmu trade because he has the most trade value. He would make the most impact on a contending team, on a playoff team. I've said in the past, I don't think Zach LaVine or Nikola Vucevic raise the ceiling of any playoff teams. I don't think either of them take a first-round team into a second-round team or take a second-round team into a conference finals team or anything like that. So I don't see a team really trading for them. The Warriors, they maybe would have traded for Nikola Vucevic, but now that they've sent DeAnthony Melton his contract to the Nets for Dennis Schroeder, that's going to take them out of the mix because now they'd have to do some combination of like Gary Payton Jr. and Kevon Looney or Moses Moody. Jonathan Kuminga's not going to be on the table. You know, they'd have to combine salaries. It'd be really tricky for them to do it, and any trade that they did with those combined salaries would affect their defense. So Nikola Vucevic, I don't think he's going to be a Warrior. I think he's going to finish out as a Bull here. Zach LaVine, like I said, the new CBA, it makes it damn near impossible to trade Zach LaVine. So I don't think any Bulls trades are happening. The Vooch to the Warriors trade, that one gets a lot of buzz, but Vooch, he's not going to the Warriors, guys. Imagine how bad their defense would be in the playoffs in the fourth quarter having Vooch and Curry on the court at the same time. It's not feasible. So we'll get into the mailbag here. Those are just my thoughts on the Dennis Schroeder trade. It's a nice little trade for the Warriors, and for the Nets, it takes them into tank mode. One of my friends, he's a diehard Nets fan. He told me Dennis Schroeder is their best player this year. So them losing him, they're gonna fall in the standings. The Bulls are a play-in team this year. All right, first question we got in the mailbag. Where do you get your bandanas? That's an easy one. Buy them at Walmart. They're like $5. Question number 2, what are they doing? This is a question that a lot of Bulls fans, we've been asking it for 3-4 years now. What are the Chicago Bulls doing? Nobody knows, man. Nobody knows what they're doing. They're not tanking. I can tell you guys that much. They're definitely not tanking. I don't think a Zach LaVine trade's coming. Nikola Vucevic trade isn't coming. Kobe White trade isn't coming. There's no trades coming. I have no faith in this team to complete a midseason trade. We haven't seen a midseason trade since the Nikola Vucevic trade, and that was, what would that be, 5 years coming up this February? So I have no faith in this front office to make a midseason trade that either gets us tanking or improves us to make a real playoff push. So the Bulls are doing what they've been doing for the last couple of years. They're trying to make the play-in tournament. They're trying to be competitive. They're being frustrating. That's really what it is. So nobody knows what the Chicago Bulls are doing. Anybody who tells you that they know what this front office is doing, they're lying. They're trying to get they're posting clickbait. Anybody who says they know what this front office is doing, it's pure clickbait. Over the years, how many times have we seen that the Chicago Bulls are in on trade talks, or they're going to move DeMar DeRozan at the deadline, or they're going to move Caruso at the deadline for picks? We've seen those stories for 2 or 3 years now. It never happens. So anybody who tells you they know what the Chicago Bulls are doing, they're lying to you. Next question, ideal lineup you prefer the Bulls to have right now. Which sets of young guys do you want to see their minutes get increased? This is a great question. The lineup I want to see the most right now that I don't think we've seen even for a minute this season, I want to see Lonzo Ball, I want to see Zach LaVine, I want to see Patrick Williams, I want to see Matas Buzelis, and I want to see Nikola Vucevic. I want to see all 5 of them on the court together, and I want to see it for a 6 to 8 minute stretch. I think that lineup could be our most versatile lineup. Then you're bringing Kobe White, Josh Giddey, Ayo Dosunmu, Jalen Smith. You're bringing those guys off the bench. But in an ideal world, I think that's our starting lineup. You got Lonzo, Lonzo's the best guard on the team. It sucks that he has this minutes restriction. It sucks the injury happened to him. I'm not saying he looks just as good now as he did pre-injury, but I'm saying his game didn't slip that much. There's some slight athleticism things, but all the other stuff, all the intangibles that he brings to the table, that's still there. He's still our best defender. He's a knockdown three-point shooter. He's a guy who, when he gets the ball, he's looking up court right away. He's trying to make things happen. So you got Lonzo in that lineup. He's going to make everything work. Any lineup with Lonzo is automatically better in my eyes. You got Zach LaVine for the scoring punch, and he's been an efficient scorer this year. Patrick Williams, he's our best on-ball defender. Lonzo's our best defender, but there's still some on-ball stuff that he's going to struggle with the loss of lateral quickness from his injury. Patrick Williams, he is our best on-ball defender. He's our best point-of-attack defender. You got Matas Buzelis. He brings that athleticism. He runs the rim. He cuts off ball. He's trying to dunk on everybody's head. Defensively, he's bringing that help defense. Do you have 3 or 4 block shots the other night? Like, he's a good crashing defender, and he's our young guy. He's our piece going forward. I really believe in the kid. I didn't when the draft happened. That's one of my worst takes that I've had, but seeing him this year, I believe in the kid, so I want him in that lineup. And then you got Nikola Vucevic, and I've been a known Vuce hater in the past, but he's playing pretty damn good this year. So you're getting the consistency, you're getting the steadiness that he brings. That's the lineup that I want to see. I want to see Lonzo, I want to see Levine, I want to see Patrick Williams, I want to see Matas Buzelis, and I want to see Vuce. I want to see them share the court for like a 6-minute stretch. Just let me see it one time this year. It can't be bad, right? It can't be worse than some of the lineups we've seen. So the second part of your question, which set of young guys you want to see their minutes increase? It's really just Matas Buzelis, man. Like Dalen Terry, he is what he is. I'm not a Dalen hater by any means, but I think this is what he is. He's a high energy guy. He could maybe be in the Javonte Green mold where he comes in, he just brings his energy. I don't expect his 3-point shot to ever be great. Don't expect him to really make that much of an impact on the offensive end other than running the rim, crashing the offensive glass, making all the hustle plays. Jalen Phillips, I don't know, man. Those games where they were starting him over Matas Buzelis, those are driving me nuts. Phillips, he could maybe be a guy in a Derrick Jones Jr. type of mold, but I don't have high expectations on him. And Sanogo, good rebounder, but he's 6'8" and he's got slow feet. He plays basketball like he's wearing Timberlands, so I don't think he's a rotational NBA piece. So I don't know if I need to see any of the young guys really get their minutes increased, to be honest. All right, next question. Now we're getting into the real stuff. What's your opinion on Josh Giddey? Be nice. Shout out to Bulls Troy, man, down there in Australia. Josh Giddey, he's a national hero. It's like Tropic Thunder, man. If you say something bad about Josh Giddey, somebody's going to be like, pump your brakes, kid. That man's a national hero. People love Josh Giddey, at least in Australia. In Chicago, it seems like they hate the kid. I feel bad for him. He makes any mistake on the basketball court, and Bulls Twitter is just on his ass right away. Meanwhile, Kobe White makes mistake after mistake every game, and nobody ever gets on him. And people get mad at me if I get on him. So it's a dual-edged coin. But my opinion on Josh Giddey, I'm disappointed. There's no other way to put it. I'm disappointed by Josh Giddey this year. I was all in on the trade, when they traded Alex Caruso and I saw they got Josh Giddey. I think I was one of the few people who wasn't like, oh no, we didn't get a pick. I was excited. Here we are, we're getting this 21-year-old kid who's been in a winning system, who's played good basketball for them before. Not last year, last year in the playoffs he had his struggles, but the year before, go look at what he did in the play-in tournament the year before when OKC, I think they were an 8 seed. He had some big games in games that mattered. That's the one thing you can say about the play-in tournament is it gives teams, these 8, these 9, these 10 seeds who got some young pieces, it gives them a game with actual stakes in it so you can see what a dude does when something's on the line. So from that aspect, the play-in tournament's kind of fun. And you look at what he did in that play-in tournament with OKC. He had some big games. He showed up. He rose to the occasion. The first game that they won, he was their best player. So I had high expectations coming into the season from Josh Giddey. This is a guy who we've seen him in a winning situation before. We've seen him ball out before, when SGA's been out. Now he's coming to a team, last year, with SGA's rise, it's really hard for a guard to look good next to SGA, especially a guard like Josh Giddey who needs the ball to be effective. And that's a lot of guards in the NBA, especially offensive guards. They need the ball to be effective. So it's hard to look good to a guy next to a guy like SGA who needs the ball all the time. So I felt for Josh Giddey. They stuck him in a corner, asked him to make threes. That's not his game. Now he's coming to Chicago. We're giving him the keys. He's going to get to run. He's going to get to do his thing. The offense is going to be, predicated to him. He's not going to have to just stand in the corner shooting threes, and it hasn't been good this year. There's been highlights. There's been a lot of lowlights. His defense is abysmal. At least he gives effort on that end. That's something you can't take away from him. I never see his body language and think he's dogging it out there, so that's good. The jump shooting, man, he started out on a tear, and now he's regressed. And to make it worse, his shot form is so ugly that when he misses, it makes it look 10 times worse than it actually is. So my biggest Josh Giddey complaint is 5 times a game he drives to the hoop recklessly. There's 2 or 3 defenders in the paint waiting for him, and instead of kicking that thing out, spraying that thing out for 3, he's going up with some crazy ass layup attempt that never goes in, never even comes close to going in. So that part of his game he needs to fix. The defensive part he needs to fix. He needs to use his size more on the defensive end. He's really good on the offensive end at using his size and getting into the paint and getting by defenders. He's really good at using his size to rebound. Use your size on the defensive end, man. Bully these guards. These guards are taking you off the dribble because it's almost like you're scared to initiate contact. And I get it with the way the game is ref these days. Any defender's kind of scared to initiate contact, but you got to use your size, man. So Josh Giddey, overall, he's been disappointing to me. He hasn't been as bad as Bulls Twitter will have you believe. And I still have hope that he can turn it around and there's more to his game, more that he can grow into. He's 22 years old, so there's room for improvement there. I hope he makes that improvement. We got a damn good shooting coach in Chicago, so I hope they work with the kid. And hopefully this offseason they can get a contract ironed out that's good for both sides. We can't overpay him. We can't be giving him, 20, 30 million a year like he reportedly wants. If he can slide in, 15 to 18 million for 3 or 4 years, I'm going to be happy with it. All right, next question. Do you trust the Bulls front office to pick a good player if the pick doesn't go to the Spurs? Well, first of all, I think the pick is going to the Spurs. I've been saying since July, we're winning 35 games. We're finishing 9 or 10 in the East. We're getting the 11th pick in the lottery. That bitch is going to the Spurs. So I don't even think it matters, but this is a good question. Do I trust the front office to draft? If you would have asked me this in June, actually, if you'd asked me this in September, in October, I'd have said no. I did not believe in Matas Buzelis at all. I was wrong. In that draft, I wanted Kalel Ware. That looks bad. The Heat aren't even playing him, and they need minutes at the center, so why aren't they playing the kid? I liked him a lot in college. I liked his potential. I liked Yves Missy. He looks good for the Pelicans. And I liked Dalton Knecht, who he's had moments for the Lakers this year. But Matas Buzelis, he's blown me away. I'm shocked by how good he is. I'm shocked by how much he's improved. I'm shocked at the athleticism. I'm shocked at how much he pops. I said earlier this year, Julian Phillips is a guy who he'll go long stretches, and Patrick Williams is very much like this too. He'll go long stretches where he's out there and you don't even notice he's out there. Nothing's happening. He's not making plays. He's not doing anything. He's just getting cardio. Matas Buzelis never has that. There's never a minute where you don't realize Matas Buzelis is out there when you're watching. He's crashing the rim. He's blocking shots on the defensive end. He's running. He's bringing energy. He's bringing hustle. He's bringing intensity. So the fact that they identified Matas Buzelis and they were able to look past all the things that threw guys like me off. I saw how he played in the G League. I saw his shooting percentages. I saw his frame. I saw his weight. And I was just like, nah, I'm out. I don't trust the Bulls to develop a raw prospect. Patrick Williams was a very raw prospect. They didn't develop him at all. Julian Phillips, haven't really seen much development from him either. He's pretty raw. Dalen Terry, haven't seen much development from him. He's pretty raw. So I wanted to draft a guy like Dalton Knecht, who I knew was going to make an impact right away. He was going to fill a need right away. 3-point shooting, he can do it. He can come into the league right away, and he can do that. I don't care that he's 23, 24 years old. That's what he can do. He brings a tangible skill. That was my philosophy, and I was wrong. So the fact that the Bulls identified Matas Buzelis last year when there were better options theoretically out there, that they were able to ignore all the negativity and identify him as their guy, gave me a little bit of trust in them. So if the Bulls do get the 10th or the 9th pick, based on Buzelis, man, I'm going to say I trust him. All right, last question here. Do you think a different coach could do better? Absolutely. Absolutely, I think a different coach could do better with this roster. I've been saying that for years. You guys know, if you've been following me, if you've been watching my videos for any period of time, I don't like Billy Donovan. I don't think he's a good coach. I don't think he's a leader of men. I think I understand that he knows more about basketball, that man has forgotten more about the game of basketball than I will ever learn. I understand that. That's true of anybody who's working in the NBA right now, or at least 99% of the people working in the NBA right now. I understand to some extent the man's a basketball genius. Any of those head coaches, there's a reason that they are head coaches. I get all this. I'm just a dude on Twitter and TikTok and YouTube talking shit. But I don't think Billy Donovan's a good coach. I don't think he's a leader of men. There have been too many times over the years where there is a big game. There's a game with real stakes. There's a game where, hey, if the Bulls win this game, I'll take you guys back 2 years ago. If the Bulls can beat this Rockets team that's like 12-30, they'll get back to 500 for the first time in a year. They come out, they get spanked by like 20 by that Rockets team. And that was before the Rockets are the Rockets that we know now. That's when they were young. They didn't know how to play. They didn't have Ime Udoka as their coach then. So we've seen that, a million times. Last play-in tournament, man, they spank the Atlanta Hawks. And then they go up against the Heat, who are missing Jimmy Butler, and they get spanked. They come out there looking no intensity, not ready to play. We've seen this too many times in big moments. Billy Donovan is not a leader of men. There's too many times this season. How many games have we seen this season? 5, maybe 6 games this year where we come out, the game plan's working, we're executing, we get up double digits after the first quarter, and then the other team makes an adjustment, and Billy Donovan looks confused. He's like, wait, you're allowed to make adjustments? You're allowed to do something different than the game plan that we came out with? So yeah, I think a different coach could get more out of this roster, and it bums me out that we never got to see it. It bums me out that DeMar DeRozan gave us, 3 years here where it was just the same thing. We never got to see a different coach, a different voice come in and see if they can maximize more out of that roster. I guarantee you, And I know the hire would never happen because he's a Heat for life. But Eric Spoelstra, I guarantee you, he'd have had this roster playing harder and looking better. People will always blame roster construction with the Bulls when they don't want to blame Billy Donovan, which is funny because you think a guy like Billy Donovan, who's as entrenched in this organization as he is, you think he don't have any input on this roster? I guarantee you he's got input on this roster. So I would have loved to see what an Eric Spoelstra type could do, to see what some of these young coaches, Charles Lee with the Hornets, he gets them playing hard. Jody Fernandez with the Nets. I would love to see what one of these guys could do with this team. When DeMar DeRozan was on this team, you guys know I'm a DeMar DeRozan stan. That's my favorite player in the NBA. He has been since before he was a Bull. He's going to be till the day he retires. Respect him, love his game. He's the most Kobe-like in the game today, with the little intricacies, the footwork, everything like that. I don't need to go on the DeMar DeRozan rant right now, but it bums me out that he was the scapegoat for the Bulls falling short, when I think a better coach could have got more out of those rosters the last couple of years. Even with the Lonzo injury, you still look at the talent that we had on the roster. We had DeMar DeRozan, we had Kobe White, we had Ayo Dosunmu, we had Nikola Vucevic, we had Andre Drummond. We had talent on this roster. Patrick Williams. There's been talent on this roster. This hasn't been a Charlotte Hornets situation. We haven't been playing G League guys out there. This isn't a Portland Trailblazers situation. This isn't, up until the last 2 years, a San Antonio Spurs situation where you watch them on any night and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? These are talented, established NBA players that we have had on this team for the last 4 years, and Billy Donovan has gotten the least out of them. He's gotten the bare minimum out of them, and I think a better coach could get more out of these guys. So I really hope this is Billy's last year. I really do. He's trying to cheat the system this year. He's having them play as fast as they can, shoot as many threes as they can. It's not fun to watch. I'll tell you that much. I don't enjoy watching it. I'm old school. I miss the days, the Carmelo Anthonys, the Kobe Bryants, the guys who they got it in their spot. I've been saying Brandon Miller is the epitome of what's wrong in the NBA right now. He's the guy, he's given the green light to shoot 12 to 15 threes a game. Really, he should be shooting about 4 to maybe 6 of them things a game. He should be trying to do what DeMar DeRozan does, finding his spots and working the mid-range, attacking the rim. The problem with the three-point shooting these days, I don't blame the players. I blame the coaches. The coaches are giving these guys, the guys who are not three-point specialists, Brandon Miller, he ain't a three-point specialist. They're giving them the green light to shoot as many threes as they want, and that's coaching these days. That's coaching. Coaching used to be getting the most out of your players, helping them find their spots, helping them be as efficient as possible. And now coaching is all shoot threes, take layups, don't do anything else in the mid-range. I don't care about your spots. I don't care about maximizing any of that. I just want you to shoot threes and get layups. That's coaching across the board now. So I don't know. I don't know what to do when it comes to the Bulls coaching, but I look at a guy like Sam Cassell. He's been an assistant coach for a long time. He's been in some successful situations. He's won a championship with Boston. He's been on Doc Rivers' bench for a long time. I look at a guy like him, and he was a player in the NBA. He was a very successful player in the NBA, made all-star teams, took the Timberwolves to a conference finals one year. He was the second best player on that team. That Timberwolves team probably goes to the finals if he doesn't get hurt in that conference finals. I look at him. He's a leader of men. He knows how to lead. I would love to see what he could do. When people ask, who do you want to replace Billy Donovan with, that's my number one candidate right there. So if you guys got any better candidates, feel free to throw them in the comments. But that's all the mailbag questions I got today. So thanks for everybody for submitting them. Let me know in the comments, what you thought, what kind of ideas you agree with, what ideas you disagree with. I'm just here to talk Bulls basketball, man.